Sound check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Sound check. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Okay, I think we're live on the air. It's Saturday, September 12th, and it's a little cloudy, but I see the sun peeking out. The pool in my area has extended the summer by 2 weeks, so if the weather is nice later on, I could go for a dip in the pool. But anyway, good morning. Hope everything is going well. And let's get ready for Okay, we're back. Just want to make sure this is hitting up on my blog. It'll be nice if it does that. Let's see here. All right, I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So, with everything that's going on in the real estate industry, being that it is a strong market, it still is. And again, as I state every session, that we really need listings. We really need listings. The mortgage rates are down low. The people who are in the market are very, very serious. They've been pre-approved. They're not just testing out the waters. They're moving along, and they're buying. And we have, again, when we put homes on the market, that day we receive not just one offer, we get multiple offers, and it's ratified by the next day. So my plea goes out to sellers. If you are on the fence about purchasing, or listing your home right now, it is such a wonderful time to do so. So, and if you're concerned about COVID-19, we are taking all precautions to not to further spread this disease that hopefully will soon be gone. Okay, so it's a great time to list. Many buyers in the market who are very serious. When the homes are priced correctly, they're going within 24 to 48 hours, or going into contract. Let me put it that way. So with that in mind, let me just say Good morning to my producer, Leonard. How was your Labor Day weekend, Leonard?
Thank you, Chris. I had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Thank you so much for asking. How was your Labor Day with your wonderful and beautiful family, if you don't mind me asking, sir? Don't want to bother you if it is a problem. In fact, if it is to bother some more time consuming for you to answer, forget that I asked the question.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Leonard. And yes, we had a very nice Labor Day weekend. We barbecued. We went to the pool. We stood local, but we did have a very nice time. Thank you, Leonard, for asking. All right. So years ago, I put together for my buyers the 10 steps in the home buying process. And I've seen others that brought it down to 3 to 5. And it's not fair because there's so much involved with purchasing a home. So cutting it down, and I've seen it in videos like the 3 to 5 steps, is not preparing your client in full about this home buying process. I don't want to say it's difficult, but the steps are easily understood, but it's the things that might affect those steps. What could not necessarily go wrong, but hold up the transaction. So I put it in an outline. There's only 2 pages. And so I wanted to do this to fully prepare my buyers for this journey that we would go on. So let's load up. And the fact that later on, I'm going to show you on my blog, we have the new for 2020 buyer and seller guides to help you either if you're buying, in today's market, or if you're selling in today's market, what to expect and the best way to go about it. But we're going to now first, let's share the screen. Okay, now I have to go back to here. Okay, we put this on over here. Hopefully this is big enough. I might make it big. And actually, let me put myself down here. There we go. So it's nice and big. And we'll get rid of my caption here so it doesn't block anything. Let's load this up here. And we'll take this off here. And now you'll see more of the screen. Very good. Very good. All right. So I put this together. This is an original document. Okay. And open this up here. Okay. So the first thing is find a professional real estate, like me, a real estate agent. I myself, I've been in the industry for over 25 years, and I started out in Brooklyn, New York. I was also a high school teacher for 21 years, and in the day, I taught my classes, and then in the afternoon, I worked in the real estate office, and I was doing mostly, if not all, rentals. But doing rentals in Brooklyn, New York is a big difference from doing it in Virginia because, number one, we got paid by the renter, and it was either 1 month's rent or 10% of the annual. So if I showed an apartment, and sometimes they were just studios back then, for $1,000, the annual amount would be $1,200, and then when I would split it with the office, it would be $600. But just to go a little further, after 9/11, which we just celebrated, I don't know if I should say celebrate, but we had the anniversary of it yesterday. After 9/11, the rental market in New York City really stopped. And mostly because the businesses were not hiring at that time, and the renters that we had coming in were mostly college grads who found jobs within the city and wanted to be close to the city. And many times they were getting apartments with roommates. But once 9/11 happened, um, that market died. And there was another agent who was a full-time real estate agent, and they said, well, basically there's only enough work for him. They laid me off, but I began working out of my home. I got my brokerage license, well, which I actually had already. It was associate brokerage license. I got my brokerage license. I developed a website, and I actually did very, very well. I did very, very well on my own, and to compete, I just charged 1 month's rent, where the other agencies didn't charge 10% of the annual. And the best thing about it, because I was working on my own, I did not have to share it. Okay, so that was really good. So if I got $1,000, I kept $1,000. There was no split, so that was really good. So that's a little bit of my background. I don't want to go into any further about that, but I was licensed back in 1993 in New York, and then I came down to Virginia, and I've been in the real estate business for over 25 years now. So the next step, after you meet a wonderful person like myself, you need to be pre-qualified. And again, with various, with the recent live stream episodes that I've had, we've talked about this getting pre-qualified, which I have such a hard time getting people to do this simple thing. And a lot of times they say, well, I'll wait till I find a home and then I'll get pre-qualified. But don't do that, because you might go to your loan officer and they do the pre-qualification. And by the way, it could be done over the phone. And then they say, oh, wait, we have an issue over here. These credit lines are a little too high. We got to bring them down a bit. Okay. And so you might not be able to buy for another 2 or 3 months. But I'm going to tell you, and this is the loan officer speaking, I'm going to tell you what lines, if you have some extra money, to pay down faster, because they report quicker to the credit reporting agencies, and we could get your credit score up a lot higher in a shorter amount of time. All right. So it's important to get that done first, not when you finally find a house. All right. But when you really just when you have made that decision to go out and to search for homes. Okay. So you do that right away. And again, whatever fear you have of speaking to them, all the mortgage loan officers I work with, they're the most friendly, courteous, kind, and professional people. They're not going to yell at you if you have lousy credit. They're not going to, okay? They're going to help you, and they're going to say what you should do. Okay. So don't have that fear of someone that's going to be yelling at you and saying all these things. That's not going to happen. They're going to help you. And even if you're a year out, 6 months to a year, at least you have a game plan. That's most important. Some people say, yeah, I'll get my credit down. And they don't. Most of the times, I'm being honest with you, they really don't. And, there's no motivation, there's no plan to do it. They say, all right, when it happens, it happens. No, you got to be strong about it. The ones who have had problems, they spoke to one of my loan officers, and my loan officers told them what to do, and they stuck to it. I had one guy in 1 month, we were able to get him a home. One guy took 3 months, and then I got him a home. So they will help you. Okay. So get pre-qualified. And then you go out and we begin viewing your homes. This is the fun part. All right. And we're going to go out and figure out, once we know your price range, if the loan officer says, well, your highest is 150, then I know we can't go much higher than that. I mean, we could look at homes that are 155, maybe 160, because we always ask for a little bit lower of offer on it. So we could go out, we know what price range to go in, and then if you say, well, Chris, I really need 3 bedrooms with 1.5 baths. I like a garage. Some people like ranches, which are 1 story. All right. And then we go out and we look at these homes that meet your criteria. Most of the times I will set you up with a drip of listings with that criteria, with the multiple listing service. So as soon as homes that hit the market meet that criteria, if it's 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, you need a garage, you get that immediately in your email box. And if you say, hey, Chris, let's take a look at this, we go out. First, I'll make sure that it's still available. All right. But then if it is, then we will go out and take a look at that property. And then we have write an offer. Okay. And as we write an offer, actually before that, I'll do what's called a comparative market analysis, or a CMA. And what basically what that is that I'll look at homes in a mile radius around the home that you want to purchase, and see what has sold and what's pending in that area, and if it's basically in that same price range. But the houses I'm looking at in those, what we call comps, basically the same type of house. It's like a 3 bedroom, 1.5 baths, has a garage. We will also take in the square footage. So let's say if it's 1,000 square feet, I would look at homes from 900 to 1,100 square feet. All right, because the square footage is very important too, because that affects the price of the house. So I would see what has sold in that area and see if that actually, what the house is listed at, is actually a good price. They might be too high, and we shouldn't offer that high of a price. They actually might be too low, and which is actually a good thing, especially if there's a bidding war, and you find out, well, the house is really more than what he has listed at, so I'm going to actually offer him more. All right, so then we write an offer. Okay, and then here, this adds a little bit more. When we come to earnest money deposit, that's usually $500. It can be more. Can it be less? I came across it once where the guy was really short. I wouldn't go less than $500. I would go at least $500. If there's a bidding war, I would go higher. I would go to at least $1,000 as an earnest money deposit. And basically, this earnest money deposit is held, if I'm representing you as a buyer, I'm holding that until we have what's called a ratified contract, which brings us down here. And that ratification means that both the buyer and seller are in agreement. Okay, we both agreed on price. We both agreed on closing cost, what the seller is going to give, and I'll go back up and go over closing costs. And any other things that we requested. If you say, gee, I really want the carpets to be cleaned right off the bat, I really want that to be done for me to even say, okay, I'm going to move into the house or purchase the house. That goes under property conditions. So if everything is agreed upon, then it's ratified. Now, let's say something quick about closing costs. When you are the buyer, you're going to have your own closing cost with the bank at the end. And that runs between 3 to 3.5% of the purchase price of the house. Now, if a house is $100,000 or less, those closing costs are probably going to be a little bit higher, between 4 to 4.5%. Only because there are some prices or some items that are still priced high, even though the house is less, it's $100,000 as opposed to 200,000. But if a house is about 200,000 and up, you could go between 3 and 3.5%. And what is that paying? That is paying your bank fees, any type of points that you purchase, points to bring down the interest rate, your closing costs. There's also, for instance, if you're buying the house and you're closing by, let's say, November 30th, but the seller has already paid their taxes up to December 31st, well, that seller would have to be reimbursed for the taxes that they paid from, in other words, they already paid up to December. So you're going to take ownership of it beginning December 1st, right? Or it's closing on the 30, on the actually, I think November only has 30 days. But it's actually, he's already then prepaid for December, but you're owning the house by then. Well, he or she, the seller, has to be reimbursed for that 1 month of tax payment. And we call these prepaid expenses. So this is all involved with your closing costs. And then most times I could get the seller to pay for those closing costs or pay some of it. It might not be 3%. They might give you 2% or 1%, but it helps you out a little bit. So you have to bring less money to the closing table. Okay. Once we have the contract ratified, we have to choose a closing company to prepare the closing. They're going to do also a title search. See, this, what I'm doing here, by the way, there's a lot to it. And I'm beginning to realize in my head that maybe I really need to go and just do a live stream on each of these topics because it gets very involved. Because even when I talk about, doing a title search, there's so much involved with that as well. And they have to make sure, your closing company has to make sure that that title is free and clear of any encumbrances, all right? To make sure there's no liens on it. There's no type of, or there's not a possibility that someone else might be able to claim that property, all right? It could be in the past history of that property. A title has been changed. Let's say one owner passed away, but later on it's found out there's another heir to the property, and they may now ask for ownership to it or partial ownership to it. It gets very difficult. It really does. Okay, so the title company who also does, the closing company prepares the paperwork. They themselves might also have the abstract to go down to the city hall to look at the titles of the property. Sometimes that's all in one company, but we'll just basically now call it the closing company. All right. Now we go down to home inspection and termite inspection. Now, there's a difference between two. The termite inspection has to be done in the state of Virginia, or at least in the Hampton Roads area. I really don't know if it needs to be done for the entire Virginia, but we have to get it done because Hampton Roads is surrounded by water. And there's an old saying in this area, it's not if your house will get termites, it's when it will. Okay, so basically, there'll be a time where your house will be affected by termites. We were also affected by termites ourselves. We're actually on a slab but the termites went up to the roof, to the sidings of the roof and began eating it up. So it happens. So the bank wants to make sure that your house is clear of termites. So that has to be done. Most of the times we get the seller to pay for it, okay, because it's their house. And if a house is found with termites, then it has to be treated. Excuse me. It has to be treated. And they do an application and they do a treatment. And once that's done, the termite company then issues a clear certificate. If there's no termites at the beginning or moisture, they look at moisture damage, for instance, in the joist. If there's none of that, then the clear certificate is issued and forwarded to the bank saying that the house is clear of termite and moisture damage. All right, once that's done, then let's go back up to home inspection. Now, the home inspection, it's not mandatory. The termite inspection is, but 99.9% of my buyers will get a home inspection. And what that is that the home inspector will go in there and they'll check everything, right? A home inspector will check for any defects on the property, appliances, electrical, and HVAC system. Now, if there are any defects, we write up a form. It's called the PreQualified, and we request the seller to make these repairs. Now, the seller might say, well, I'm not going to do all those repairs. I'll do some, but you could do these. And it's basically, again, a negotiation. It's going back and forth the same way you might be negotiating the contract, the terms of the contract. And that actually, I use the term ratifying the PreQualified. Some will say it was accepted, but that has to be, again, both parties, the buyer and seller, have to agree on what's going to be repaired or what's not going to be repaired, okay? Now, if the home inspection yields that there's a lot of problems with the house and you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be bothered with this, it's too much. You could be then released from the contract and your EMD, which is earnest money deposit, for instance, $500, is then returned to you. And these home inspections are usually between $350 to $400, depending on the size of the house. The bigger the house, the more costly the home inspection. Once that is all done and everybody's in agreement and what's going to be fixed, then the bank will order the appraisal. And the appraisal is a way that the bank makes sure that if you're buying a house with $200,000 and that's the contract price, $200,000, the bank has to make sure that that house is worth at least $200,000. So they're going to go in there and they'll check it. They'll do measurements. They will also look at comps in the area, what has sold. Now, the appraisal is different from the home inspection because the home inspector will go through the house tooth and comb. All right. So they'll check out everything. They'll go to all the different outlets and make sure that it's been wired correctly. The appraiser is not going to do that. They're basically looking for a square footage, the amount of bedrooms. They're going to look at the overall shape of the house. So, and they're going to make sure that the house is safe for you to move in. So, for instance, if the porch has about 4 steps going up and there's no handrail, they're going to request that a handrail goes up there if it's a FHA or a VA loan. Some of the loans that if you just go for a non-conventional loan, they may not ask for that. All right. But there might be some things that they will request from the seller to do because there's a safety issue. But they're not going through the house like a home inspector. All right. So don't think that, well, it's going to be appraised. I don't have to do a home inspection. Do the home inspection. It's well worth it. And just one more note about home inspection. It's not always a negative thing. They'll tell you what's actually good, with the house and how to maintain the house properly. All right. So it's not really a negative fact searching mission. They're going to give you good recommendations on how to take care of your new home. Now, the bank is going to ask that you get home insurance. That's mandatory. You have to get home insurance for the house in case anything happens to the house as you own it. If it burns down, there would be then if the house has to be replaced or whatever or repaired, you have that home insurance. That is a necessary, mandatory item. A home warranty isn't. A home warranty is basically that you or your seller may purchase that will maintain or come in, and if you have a defect with an appliance, with the HVAC system, with the heat, the air conditioning, which is the HVAC system, any type of problems, you could go in and then you just pay basically a fee. It could be from $50 to $100 for them to come out, but everything else then is covered. All right. It's not mandatory, but it's a good idea to have a home warranty on the house for these different appliances. So once all of that is done, we have our what's called a final walkthrough. That's prior to close. It could be the same day as close. It could be the day before. And we make sure basically the house is has, first of all, the same items that it had when we first walked through, or first saw the house. When I came down first to Virginia, it's my New York accent. Stainless steel appliances were coming into the market, and not many houses had them, and they were also very expensive. So people who are selling their house, they'll have those nice stainless steel appliances, the refrigerator, the microwave, the dishwasher, the oven. But when they moved out, they put back the old ones. So we had that final walkthrough just to make sure that everything is the same that it was when we first went through it. And also we want to make sure that whatever we requested to be fixed was fixed. And if it's some items that are, let's say, in the crawl space that had to be repaired, you could ask the home inspector that you used for the first home inspection to come out and double check it. They will charge you a fee. Could be around $100. My one guy charges $100 for a re-inspect. And they'll just go whatever you requested on the form. That's called a PICRA, short for a property inspection contingency removal addendum. They will just check it off and make sure that everything was done that we requested. And then we have the closing. And that's the day you bring your down payment check and sign numerous bank and city documents. But it will be worth it because you will receive your keys and be a proud new homeowner. Now, actually, I have this on my blog as well. I actually might add it to the page that I have the home. Let's see. Because I have now on the blog things to consider when buying a home for a fall of 2020 edition. And then I also have, let's see, selling your house. That's also on my blog. And what I also added to it is because we have a lot of young people entering the market, buying their first home. And I have a millennial's guide to ownership, home ownership. And all of that is in my on my blog. And I'm mostly going to, on this page, I have it elsewhere on my blog, but I'll upload it to this to this page, my 10 steps in the home buying process. Now I could show this here. This is the exact, if you want to go directly to that page, it's down here, but it's kind of cut off. Well, anyway, it's about the article, most recent article in it. You know what I'll actually do? I'll post it to the comments, the link to that page, and you could then just click it and go straight to it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload the 10 steps in the home buying process to that page. All right, so that was a lot for one episode here, and you know, what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it down and do separate episodes for those items in my 10 steps, because there's a lot involved with that. And this was basically like an overview. I have a little video for my home and buying, my buying and seller guides. So let me just show that to you now. Okay. So I'm like, again, I will then let's see. I will then load my 10 steps up to that same page. So basically just go to my blog site, realestatewithmrg.blog, and just it's about the third most recent article on the blog site, and you could get all the information on it. So I think my Leonard, is there something going on, Leonard?
Chris, great news. We have a special guest in our audience. He is the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State, the first Jesuit priest to obtain this position, the first from the Americas, the first from the Southern Hemisphere, and the first from outside Europe since the Syrian Gregory III, who reigned in the 8th century. Ladies and gentlemen, the eminent Pope Francis.
Wow, I didn't realize the Pope was there. Wow, that's really great. Thank you, Pope Francis, for stopping by. So we'll see you next week. Be safe, be well, wear your mask, keep 6 feet apart, and we'll see you next Saturday, okay? Be well, and thanks for watching.